In Ohio this week, voters just said no to legalizing pot. They rejected a ballot measure that would have legalized both recreational and medical marijuana use. Had the measure passed, Ohio would have joined 23 other states and the District of Columbia in legalizing marijuana in some form or another. Now, while Ohio has closed the door on legal pot for now, Mexico's Supreme Court is opening it. The top court has granted permission to 4 people to grow cannabis for their own consumption. For more on the ruling, I want to bring in Victor Michel in Merida, Mexico. He's a reporter with Bloomberg's partner in Mexico, El Financiero. Victor, what exactly did the court decide, and how is that going to impact the Mexican drug industry?
Hi, Betty. Yes, some are calling this Mexico's Green Day +1 because the decision made yesterday by the Mexican Supreme Court, basically what's going to happen is now that we're going to have a big discussion in this country about what do we want to do with marijuana. The court decided that 4 people, we're talking about 2 corporate lawyers, a businessman and a social activist, will be allowed to grow and consume marijuana without facing federal charges. Now, having said that, this is limited, yes, this is only a start, but basically what Mexican law states is that if 4 more people present several suits or similar suits before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court rules in the same way as they did with these 4 people, then we would be talking about a new federal law here in Mexico. This would be a legal precedent. Marijuana for recreational purposes would be legal in the whole country. So this is just the beginning. We could say that Mexico started down a road that might take us in a year or so into full-blown legalization. This is something that would have been unthinkable some months ago.
Victor, this would be a watershed moment if this does become the law of the land for Mexico. So what kind of an impact could that have on the drug gangs, on the violence in Mexico, Victor?
Yes, the drug war has led this country to do a lot of soul searching. We have to remember that we're talking about 70,000, maybe 100,000 people killed ever since the federal government launched this offensive against the drug cartels. Now, having said that, and remembering that the drug cartels make earnings something like $1.5 billion a year by producing and commercializing marijuana, we have to remember that the Mexican drug cartels have diversified. They are now looking into heroin, they're now looking into methamphetamines, they are now looking into stolen gasoline. So, yes, this will hurt them, but it will not be a massive impact into their incomes because their incomes have gone into other areas, basically heroin and meth. That's where they're getting their money from at this point.
All right. And the president himself, Mexico's president, what is his stance on legalizing marijuana, Victor?
Yes, he has been very critical of this, of the decision made yesterday by the federal Supreme Court here in Mexico. There was a press conference minutes after the Supreme Court ruling by the president's legal chief advisor. And what he said was basically, he tried to warn the Mexican public that marijuana is not legal at this point, that it's only legal for these 4 people we were talking about. He was very emphatic that Mexico at this point is not advocating for the legalization of marijuana. The federal government here in Mexico has been following the guidelines set by the federal government in the U.S., basically being very critical of marijuana. Now, having said that, most probably we will see in the coming months more legal challenges to the current federal laws here in Mexico. It's anybody's guess what might happen, but one thing is for sure, the Mexican federal government is not happy by what was decided yesterday by the Supreme Court.